Hello guys. Today we'll try to experiment with a little bit different approach. Uh, Nowadays, as you've seen, like open source code is getting more and more popular, and the ability to understand the code, execute it, will definitely helpful for your career. So, hi Kenny, are you excited to try out this different approach?
Yeah, definitely. Reading code is something that is not very easy for beginners, but that is the only way that you will get better by looking at how other people are approaching problems. So I am excited to read this code and see what we have in store for us.
Yeah, so today for one example, we'll take a bit and byte pieces. We'll in coming tutorial, we'll discuss about how to discuss about different aspect of it. So one state designer library I'm using, this is a state management library. If you see, it is in the node modules. And most often you can find this code which is able to execute. So here I started using the create state.js. And this is what it is initializing. This is also a simple JavaScript code. You can put your console.log and, try debugging about it so that you can have a more better understanding about what this code is doing. Never afraid or shy away from experiment with that.
Yeah.
But saying so, I encounter one particular line here. Couple of things I understand, but it is not very clear to me what exactly doing under the hood. It looks like it is a value is common undefined or null, or trying to handle it and assign it appropriately. But let's try to declutter it. So I found a couple of examples here. So let's try experiment what it is all about. If we try to see this,
we need one more object.
Yeah, let's define an object here. Let's create an empty object here. And try to print like what is this console.object is. Undefined.
Okay.
So that's good. So basically what is trying to do, right? Because we have a one field like enable logs inside this design options enable log. Like for example, inside this design, if you have options, now also if you try to print, it will still say undefined. But if you have see true, the basic pattern what is trying to follow that to retrieve this enable log from this design or options and this enable log, whatever the value, if you true or false, or even it is a string. But if it is doesn't contain this value, so it should return undefined.
Okay.
But if you don't, there are different way to do that. Let us see that how we can do that. Or you can do write if else condition and check each and every field traditional way.
Yeah.
Or one interesting thing is there like new null check.
Yeah.
This is what is this operator name known as?
I also don't know.
Something known as, but I'm not sure. Like see this, if you don't use this, right? If you just directly give this kind of thing, see the behavior. So now we have a value, so it is returning XYZ. If you remove this, it is undefined. Till now it is fine.
Yeah.
But if you don't have this option, right?
Options also, yeah.
So it is throw error. So your flow will get terminated.
Yeah.
So always better to try to, not try to fail this with type error or exception. then your code won't execute. If you have returning undefined, then based upon that, you can make it true or false or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So one easy way is to use this new feature, but this new feature is not available widely. I think it is ES 2020 feature.
Okay.
It is not available into 2015 or ES 6. I think it is a null check.
In TypeScript side, I think I have seen this.
Yeah. So if you now do this undefined like this, so it is still undefined. Even though that option is not available or design not available, it won't throw any error.
Yeah.
But let's try to see that how he did the this open source code writer developer, how he did it. So for example, here we don't want to do option. Still it is undefined, right?
Yeah.
Now just to understand, the first line here, we are talking about the previous video, like this curly bracket one.
Yeah, having the assignment within that bracket, right?
Yeah, it is just to kind of get execution. If you don't do that, it will, this two will compare maybe. Let's say if you do or throw some exception. Yeah.
Yeah,
this,
assignment I don't think will work.
Yeah, assignment doesn't work. So we have to give the bracket so that the values, whatever we are getting, design.options will be stored here.
Stored in the variable as well as available for that comparison, right?
Yes. But actually design can't be undefined in this pattern, right? But our curly bracket example, design can be also undefined. Because if your design is undefined here, then this will fail in this line.
Yeah, true.
So the open source writer can't be always true, or they can do error.
Yeah, maybe they have handled that in the previous step before calling the function.
Let's see that. No, there is no step they can handle it, right? Because here also, if they destructured it, they got design, the design.options. This is a userland method. This is exposed to userland.
Okay.
So most of the time, so most of the time, it is like common understanding that nobody can send undefined, but you never know.
Yeah.
But assume that design come with some object, and option is undefined. Maybe option somebody forgot to remove. That's what he's trying to handle it.
Yeah.
The first time he's created a $_a and he defines this variable here. So that he maybe want to use a later point of time. For example, no, he defined again variable _a. And it is not recommended to use variable, where, because that will go to a global context. It is always recommended to use let keyword if you want to send the value, or if it is a constant, use a constant keyword. But variable you try to avoid in 99% of the cases, or maybe 99.99.
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, I would always use const unless we need to like change that variable value.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So this $a is defined over here, but we have not defined here. That means it is auto defined. It is not complaining about that $a we have to define explicitly, right?
Yeah.
So that whether we use where keyword later or we just skip it. So I think the variable is declared by itself. If you use a curly bracket.
I think maybe it could be this run.js that is automatically doing it, or by default in JavaScript, we don't need a var keyword or something. Or just creating.
Yeah, just creating. I think, I think we can just use a just 2, 3, 4 like that.
Yeah.
But it would be as a global variable, I think.
Yeah, that would
so it would be attached to object variable. So it will cause other confusion. So never define a variable without declaring again.
Yeah.
Okay. Now first step is just design option set assigned to a variable, and also the underscore usually there is no strict hard and fast rule, but underscore represent a throwaway variables.
Yeah.
So you use for one or two purposes and just get rid of it. You are not going to use anymore.
Hmm.
That's why this a is just kind of temporary variable.
Hmm.
And once it is assigned, then it is comparing the equal to null or not. So why this should be, now I just want to know in which scenario this would be. It is a strict equality. That means he assumed that it will return null in some case and it won't return null in some other case. Let's see that. Because this assignment, what it will return, how it should matter it. You got it, Kenny? What I'm trying to say? He's trying to compare this assignment, not the variable.
The value of that assignment, right?
Yeah, but he is not comparing $_a explicitly. Maybe he's trying to refer to his, he wanted to compare $_a, but I'm not sure about it.
So I think this is similar to that last video where we saw that you can have this bracket and then comma and something, right? So here there is no second comma, so that first value itself will be taken because we are running it in the bracket.
Yeah. So if you see that even though you given comma, so the value is representing as the entire object in the content of $a. That's you're right, Kenny.
Yeah.
But let's say we don't have anything option here. So it is undefined.
Yeah.
But why is trying to compare with the null?
The only way giving null, it will be matching, right?
Null means it would be like this.
You have to give null, right?
Null. Then only this comparison will work.
Yeah.
Still, I'm not very clear about why he's trying to do that.
One question. See,
Yeah.
if that is null, that first part of that condition becomes true, right? I mean,
Not
that something equal to null, check if it becomes true, right?
That means you are referring this if it is null like this.
Yeah, that is null. Then the beginning part of that entire expression before that or condition, that will be true, right?
Yeah, this would be true.
And then the output should also be true, right?
Then this won't be executed, I think.
That's what I'm thinking, that if it's short circuited, then
then
the
it will return
value,
void
the
zero.
variable.
Void zero also is like a stylish way to call undefined, I think.
Okay.
Let's try to print it.
Okay.
See, void zero is nothing but undefined.
Okay.
Let's do Google it a little bit about void zero.
JavaScript. Yeah. Okay.
Void evaluate the given expression.
Oh.
The void operator often is merely often undefined primitive. This is to get the undefined, because if you just write like undefined, maybe that is not possible to write undefined there or something. Usually using void zero or equivalent to void zero. In this case, global variable undefined can be used.
Okay.
Right. The operator piece of value, an expression that evaluate to undefined is desired. Means the value, if you try to use undefined, what is happening? Undefined. Yeah, it is also behaving similar manner.
Yeah. Okay.
But what is the uses of using void zero? Why is instead of writing undefined, why use void zero?
Not clear to me. Sounds like this.
Yeah, this is a bit confusing. Void zero versus undefined. Should I use void zero or undefined?
Maybe for older browser support.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're using modern browser, using undefined and void zero would most likely yield the same result. Except that void can accept expression. I think this void zero is for older browser.
Yeah.
For in the older
Compatibility.
browser, which do not support this JavaScript 1.8.5, it is better to use void zero. Look at the example, undefined. If undefined also, we can assign a value. Yeah.
That will be crazy.
Yeah. And if you use where and the undefined in the window object also can be gone.
Everything will break. It will be comedy.
Yeah. So it is undefined only. So for backward compatibility, it is using void zero. So for older browser. So what is trying to do? It is sn design.options here to equal to null. I strictly null equal to check what it is doing. I'm not very convinced.
Yeah. That also might be some compatibility issue maybe with the older browser.
But this strictly equal to usually is a latest approach. He could have done this if you can do 2 equal to, right? It will check both for null and undefined.
Yeah.
But let's try example. But if you let's say give an undefined, it still work, right? Yeah, it still work. Let's say if it is a design option is undefined, then this null check is not true.
Yeah, it's not true.
If it is false, then it will execute this one, right? Then it is comparing this underscore a, which is undefined or not.
Assigning undefined. Yeah.
If it is undefined, then returning this void zero undefined.
Yeah.
So in this case, it is checking the explicitly, oh, okay.
Null or undefined, right?
Yeah. Actually, instead of that, right, if you could have done this, see, for example, it is catering both this undefined and null value. In both the example, it want to return null. So instead of doing this, he could have done equal to null. So it will work option equal undefined, and this undefined also it will return null. Sorry, undefined.
Undefined. Yeah.
So this is exactly the same thing if you do equal to also.
Yeah.
But this is not a good practice.
Yeah, usually you prefer to do the triple
equal to is not recommended.
Because it will try to typecast or something like that, right? It will capture a larger range of values.
Yeah, I forgotten that name. It will do something. So he want to use 3 equal to, street equal to. That means the value, option value you want to check first as a null. The second, he is trying to check with the a equal to undefined.
Yeah.
If it is null or undefined, then it is written in the undefined. Otherwise, the value of the trying to access a field.
Yeah, now it makes sense.
So just to access the value, how much trouble? So now I think if I'm him, I would recommend to use this thing. So small feature like this would definitely helpful. Okay, what is that field? Okay, test or something.
Yeah.
Undefined. If we get test, 2x is the value. So he checked this option whether it is null or undefined. That is the reason he has done this whole drama. He assigned to a temporary variable and check the equal to null. Then he checked to undefined. But if you see this void and temporary variable, your head will be spinning like anything.
Yeah, true. Praful, just a quick question. I don't know if this is written or generated code because would this be generated code from TypeScript?
That may be possible.
Because it, I don't think anyone will write like this because it's so complicated. It will be difficult to read also, right?
Yeah. Because I'm not very sure about it, but it may be possibility that it can be a generated code.
Okay.
But if we know how to read the generated code, that means
Definitely.
we're doing something
Definitely.
good.
I mean, learned a lot of things by just one line of code so far, and that is very, like I'm feeling happy that I was able to go through that. Before I was like, okay, it is confusing, I cannot understand it, but now it makes more sense.
Yeah. So here's the intentionally not because most of the time I can see equal to, but he don't want to use equal to equal to. He want to use strict equal to, but he checked the null as well as undefined here. And instead of undefined, he used void 0 just to give older browser support.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So void 0 is nothing but undefined.
Yeah.
Okay, Kenny.
All right.
Yeah,
Take
thanks
care.
guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.